build for me a customer example and use case by starting off with authentication, the orchestration that's needed in order to provide a good experience to somebody who's calling into a contact center or interacting with a contact center, and the importance of the infrastructure and some of the pieces behind all of this. So maybe we can start.
Okay, so you think about when you call into your bank, and normally you go through all this stuff that takes a minute to figure out who you are, maybe 2 minutes or more.
The paste, pepperoni.
Exactly. Instead, you call in and it says, for faster service, please log into your mobile app. You look at your phone, what the heck? Touch here to log in, Face ID spins. You've logged in with the veracity of 1 in a million in a couple of seconds. No more silly questions. Once you're actually talking to someone, instead of giving them those, answering those questions that make you squirm, like what's your social security number, what's your healthcare data, what's your credit card number, basically the agent or the bot, we'll hear about the orchestration in a second, clicks a button, request pops up on your phone, you enter it there, it's locally encrypted there for the destination. So there's no copies of it anywhere, there's no ability in between to steal that information. And basically it just goes to the back end of the bank, let's say, to handle that transaction.
Yeah, so if you want to think about pretty much any customer experience you've had recently, either calling in or maybe using a bad bot, our goal is to transform that experience through natural language AI, and now generative AI, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in a minute. And by doing that, really create personalized and effortless experiences for customers at scale. And as we talked about, use an airline example. Lufthansa is a customer of ours. Today, if you recall, if you have a flight canceled, even in many cases, even today, that can be a painful process of being on a phone, waiting to do this or that. Lufthansa essentially automated all of that. So if your flight's canceled, it's literally happened to me. I was in Germany, and I got an immediate notification that my flight had been canceled. They gave me 3 choices of which other flights I would want to go on. I hit this, and it was done instantly. And of course, to Brett's point earlier, authentication is a huge amount of what creates pain in customer journeys. And so the ability to be able to authenticate in real time cuts a huge amount of the time that you spend in a journey. And so it's a really powerful combination of what we do plus what Brett does, again, riding on the rails of Azure, if you will, to create really powerful experiences for our customers.
So get you in the front door securely, quickly, no doubt, gives you a better answer, more rapidly, fine-tuned to you, right? In my world, there aren't customer personas anymore. Everybody's a persona.
That's right.
And this is what AI allows you to do. And then...
And basically it's sitting on globally an incredibly large investment that Microsoft has made in every single area, region, geography, whether it's HIPAA, PCI compliance, or even to the state, the state, federal, local government to security. The Microsoft Azure platform is highly available, it's highly secure, built on the foundations of Microsoft principles of trust, also on zero trust compute. So our data, our integrity of our security and customer data, and the customers, in this case, is everyone here, and probably all of you. So we build on that foundation of trust. We have government level trust. We have an incredible amount of investment into security and protecting that data from nation state attack, from local attacks. But also we've got the investments we've made, I think 10 billion in security over the past 3 years, which is public. And we've got the AI investment we've made, which is another 10 billion that we made this year. All of this drives towards supporting solutions that our partners build on. And the scale of a company like Avaya, what Avaya brings to us is across the globe, every single person, I'm pretty sure almost every continent is serviced by Avaya and by its partners. So we have the ability to deliver these services in every region, in every government, in every secure environment, and the commercial environments.
So a lot of AI applications out there. It is the buzz. Many companies, lots of startups, lots of larger companies investing in it. And you see different use cases all of the time. By tying that knowledge and know-how of folks like Brett and the Cognigy team to a platform of Microsoft strength, you now have trust in the solution, right? Because you've got to be Microsoft certified. If you're working with Avaya, you know you've got the backing of like the world's largest communications company. By pulling that all together, it means that the solutions that we'll be delivering over the top, right, and as part of the innovation without disruption piece, are solutions that you can trust in. And this is a big deal because you can go out and you can find some nifty and interesting applications, but what is that application sitting on? Does it have the same security profile? Does it have the same intensity in the way that it's inspected, right? So very important differentiator. Let me stop for a second and see if there are any questions here and make sure everybody's sort of following along. Yeah.
This is mostly a question about trust because it seems as if that's a big issue for a number of CEOs and CIOs when it comes to AI. But we're all doing these short courses on AI since November, and so I'm going to ask a question that could be a little off. But from my understanding with large language models, that it operates very similarly to the human brain, and it's hard to retrieve exactly where the data is located. Is that correct?
So, the data sets used, and I'll speak specifically for Microsoft, are highly vetted data sources. We've got a significant concern that we're bringing human bias in our data sets. So Microsoft is ensuring that we're looking for unconscious bias in our decisions of the data sets we're bringing. So we're not going off to the World Wide Web and saying, give me everything. We're curating known trusted sources. So the data models we're hoping are built on a model of data that has integrity, that has been cleared for bias. And there's with cognitive AI, we all know that there's some issues with skin tone. And there's what does this look like to a computer? It's not what we ourselves would perceive, it's an algorithm. What we're trying to do is the openness for the algorithm to be seen. OpenAI is a non-for-profit, and it stands with Microsoft's funding. There is a trade secret element for what those algorithms do. The data set that you see as the customer, the output of the generative ChatGPT, is generated on a big model, a large language model, but once it's trained by Avaya or a partner's customer, it's trained on just that data set. That data set it's being trained on and tuned on belongs to the end customer, belongs to Avaya. Avaya has the privacy of that security. That information doesn't come back to Microsoft, for example. We don't see what the data is being created. We don't train our models based on what Avaya is learning. That belongs to the private data set that Avaya has chosen. The algorithms, there is opacity to it. It is not completely, in any open AI model, there is a way to look back and say, where do these decisions go to a certain level? But based on the training and the global scale of the data set that it starts, can you find that one piece of bad information? You could, because we retain that data set, but knowing what the influence the algorithm sees over here from this one piece does have a little bit of an opacity issue, and that's an industry-wide problem with OpenAI, with AI models and especially generative. But what we are doing, we have obviously guardrails to prevent hallucinations. We have how certain are you? There's a probability of a generative AI. What's the next word? What's it guaranteed to be? Producing less creative answers, more accurate answers. And on the other side, you've got, hey, just wing it. We're obviously, as an ethical AI company, we're trying to steer everyone to use the more definitive, deliberate, fact-based information.
And that's easier if you have these kind of confined data sets that are specific to a company.
That's great. Yeah, I would say yes.
Yeah.
So you end up with sort of the general data sets that Avaya might want to train, use as part of their system, but you also end up with customer-specific data sets. So, we did a demo the other day for a customer that had a large set of digital assets that had all their FAQs and everything else. So that became sort of the domain-specific corpus that was required to then marry with the more general data sets so that you could have the conversational AI kinds of conversations and things based on the more natural access to the general information, but also you have the domain-specific data that allowed them to give good answers to questions about their business and their use cases.
Questions from the audience? Oh,
Yeah, so in order for AI, I mean, like I know, but in order for AI to be effective, it's as effective as the trainer. So it's when in regard to contact centers, we see fewer and fewer agents maybe on the floor answering customer calls, but you have these trainers. So from your perspective, where is the training headed in the near future for contact centers?
Well, I think one of the real benefits of this technology is if you take a look at the turnover in contact centers and outsourcers, it can be well over 100% a year, sometimes 200% a year or more. So they're hiring many, many people. And then the question is, how long does it take to train them to become effective? And oftentimes, about the time you get them trained is when they leave and you got to hire a new person. And that's one of the reasons why we often struggle when we call centers and it seems like this person just started, right? So when you start taking a look at things like using AI to provide the answers for the agent to give, because it's listening to the call and it's automatically generating suggestions of what the right answer might be. Now you can take someone with much less training and have them do a much better job. And so it can completely change the success nature of it. We've got customers that we're working with where they have sort of the expert agents and they want them to handle certain kinds of transactions on their own. So like the answers you give them might be much simpler, more straightforward. Maybe they're focused on upselling instead of just solving the problem. The new person basically kind of gets a script to read. So it's having a huge impact on the training of those contact center agents.
So I did mean that too, but I also meant from training the AI models because
I think one of the challenges you have to watch out for is we're hearing reports that people are training AI models with ChatGPT. So yeah, so what you've got is the echo chamber. We all know echo chambers are not good for data. The training of AI takes humans. It takes, is this right? Is this good? Is this quality? And one thing I would say as Microsoft and a technologist is we need to ensure that the human involvement, not a kill switch and Sarah Connor being saved, but more of a human operational thing. We want to ensure that the impact to a call center agent is that their experience as a human, as an employee of that contact center is augmented, not reduced or minimized. From a Microsoft perspective and an ethical perspective, the data has to have controls. It does have controls. It has ethical boundaries. And when we talk to our customers, our guidance, we have a very strong guidance on how to train that data, or where that data should be. You do not want a bot training a bot, because it can create error, it can create incorrect information, which doesn't help the customer, the partner, or the end agent, or the consumer.
If I can leave you with any thought today, as you write about AI and you write about Avaya, the Microsoft reference to the Terminator is absolutely something that should make it into print. Oliver may not make it to his 11th year, but it would sure be funny. Look, you knew exactly.
Yeah,
all right.
So which one of you guys is Tony then?
Look, I very much appreciate you guys taking the time again. If you have any follow-ups from a press perspective, please let Pilar know.